Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Oh, would you look at this?
Yeah, well...
Would you look at that?
Yeah, there's a few more...
Ladies and gents, welcome back. I feel like I have to explain things, and there's a lot of confusion out there, and I don't think the confusion is because of Donald Trump and what he's saying about tariffs. I think the confusion lies with the media and the narrative that they're trying to spin. Now, this is what you've been seeing on headlines. Confused by Trump's shifting tariff remarks? You're not alone. Here's what we need to know. CBC saying confused by Trump's many tariff threats. Here's what's going on, and then they don't tell you what's going on. We even have Politico saying Trump creates more confusion on tariffs. Well, let me tell you that there is not a lot of confusion on the tariff issue, and the best way to think of it is that there's two separate camps here. There is actually two separate rounds of tariffs. One has taken place yesterday, and the other one has not taken place yet. That will be on April 1st. Now, the ones that came into effect yesterday, March 4th, those were punitive tariffs. Think of them much like a sanction, an economic sanction on Canada. Mexico as well is included in this. Now, it's 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods that cross into the United States of America. Now, who's paying this tax? Well, it's going to be American citizens. American consumers will be paying this tax, not Canadian consumers. Now, any retaliatory tariffs that Canada puts on American goods, now that will be a tax on Canadians, and that will be an immediate increase in the cost of living for Canadians. That's right. So when they talk about taxing all of the produce that's coming over the border, that's right. You're going to be paying more money for things that we can't grow at the moment right now in Canada. Now, that being said, those tariffs, the 25% tariffs on all goods is punitive, and it's Donald Trump has given an ultimatum. He said, I want you to fix your border. I want you to fix the narcotics crisis. I can't say some of these words on this platform, but this is the way we have to roll. This is the language we have to use. So a lot of the narcotics that are happening. Now, that being said, it's a small fraction of how much is coming from Mexico that's coming from Canada, but Canada, as you've seen in recent time, has had some serious increases in the activity of these substances being produced within our borders. And when they're cracked down on, it's interesting that the RCMP don't seem to have any arrests being made. Maybe they might catch the janitor in the act, but none of the culprits are being arrested. Now, obviously, that doesn't give a lot of good faith to our trading partners to the south, especially when they're putting punitive tariffs on us. So this is why it went forward. This is why we've seen this happen. Now, in negotiations, of course, these things always happen. Now, just yesterday, this came out. He was on the news, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. He had this to say: the Canadians, while they're talking a big game in Ottawa, when they're on the phone with the Americans, they're speaking a different story.
With me all day today, trying to show that they'll do better. And the president's listening because he's very, very fair and very reasonable. So I think he's going to work something out with them. It's not going to be a pause, none of that pause stuff. But I think he's going to figure out, you do more, and I'll meet you in the middle some way. And we're going to probably be announcing that tomorrow. So somewhere in the middle will likely be the outcome. The president moving with the Canadians and Mexicans, but not all the way.
But not all the way. And that's exactly how that works. Now, so that's the punitive tariffs. Now, where the confusion has been coming in, where I think that, honestly, I think it's the news media that's been pushing this confusion to try to get Canadians to feel like Donald Trump is being irrational in this, is the fact that he said one date, he said another date, another day, and all of this confusion. That's not confusion. Donald Trump has said that it was going to be March 4th for the punitive tariffs. The other tariffs now is a different thing altogether. Now, Donald Trump has put this out on social media. He's talked about this in the US press. He's talked about this all over the place. And this is what's happening here. Now, Donald Trump says, on trade, I've decided for purpose of fairness that I will charge reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the US, of the United States of America, we will charge them no more, no less. Now, this is in fact, the second round of tariffs. Now, this is not the punitive tariffs. This will be the actual, and I'd like to put it this way, because if you read the whole tweet, and I'll leave a link in the description down below where you can go access that for yourself. Go check it out. I really recommend you do that. Don't just take my word for it. But he states in his purpose that the purpose of doing these reciprocal trade barriers, for the same purpose that the Canadians are trying to do this, is to eliminate the trade barriers altogether. So Canada has historically had some really crazy trade barriers, and we can see this. Just to be clear, these are the tariffs that Canada imposed on the United States for years, even before Trump, and it ran for his first mandate. Dairy products, 278%. Cheese, 245%. Butter, 298%. Chicken, 238% tariffs. Sausage, 69. I mean, really? I guess the Elon's razor works out there. The result would typically be the most funny or ironic. Barley seed, 57%, and so on and so on and so on. We heard about 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. Well, we have 45% tariffs on aluminum and 25 on steel. So this is the situation that we're running into right now. Donald Trump is trying to work out new trade negotiations, and he's picking on neighbors in other countries that have been trading with the United States for a long time and who have had barriers to entry into their marketplace. Now, what he said about banks is relatively not true. There are banks that operate within Canada, but only to a limited capacity. So it's not the whole truth, but it is true that banks you can't just open up a Bank of America account in Canada. It just doesn't exist. So there are trade barriers. There are restrictions. In some European countries, there are VAT taxes. Donald Trump wants to eliminate all of these things. So in order to do that, with his second run of tariffs, like I was talking about, not the punitive ones, but the reciprocal ones, the purpose of it is to get the other countries to back down on their trade restrictions within their country, so that American business people, American entrepreneurs can participate in these other countries as well. It would be great, actually, for the consumers in Canada if American businesses would be able to come into the Canadian economy and lower the prices of goods because of competition. More competition in a marketplace is good. And I think streamlining our trade would be a great effort and a good thing in the right direction. Canada, for the longest time, has been a protectionist economy run by our government and typically cartels. This is how it works. It's not for the benefit of the consumer. It's for the benefit of a few people at the very top. And Trump is trying to put an end to this. So I'm hoping that this makes things more clear. But let's, just for the sake of clarity, let's look at a CBC news broadcast that gave a little bit more backing to make this make a little bit more sense here.
Let's take a look at what he's saying, particularly in response to Canada's response in terms of the retaliatory tariffs that Canada plans to impose. Trump writing, please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the U.S., our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount. And what he's referring to there, Andrew, is the next round of tariffs, or even the next round, because what's happening today is really just the first wave of tariffs that are set to hit Canada and then other trading partners of the U.S. On April 2nd, that is when Trump is set to announce what he calls reciprocal tariffs on all of the U.S.'s trading partners that he feels impose tariffs on the U.S. or other what he calls unfair trading practices. So that's an interesting response from Trump, because as we know, he has been indicating that the next rounds of tariffs he plans on imposing, like on steel and aluminum, which are coming up, are going to stack on top of the ones that are being imposed today. Now, in terms of why these are going ahead today, the justification for them, what we're hearing from Trump's administration is that Canada and Mexico failed to take enough action on border security. Because remember, these tariffs today are supposed to be about crossing into the United States from Mexico and Canada. That was a chief concern of Donald Trump, and illegal border crossings. And the big question leading up to yesterday and today was, were all the steps that were taken by Canada and Mexico in recent weeks enough to satisfy him? And the answer clearly was no, that they weren't satisfied and felt it necessary to go ahead and impose these tariffs.
So this clarifies this, and it really gives the instance, and it tells you the truth that the CBC, they're not confused about this. And when they say that they're confused and that the messaging is confusing, they're not telling you the truth. They're trying to confuse you. And this is why I wanted to make this video, this particular video, to put this forward that, you know, this is not a confusing issue. It's very straightforward. It's very comparable. And our Canadian government is using this issue against you. They're using you as a tool in this battle, a political battle against their political enemy, which is obviously someone who doesn't like global entities and all of these things that Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney and all of them like to espouse to. So I'd love to leave this one with you. Were you confused? Are you less confused now after this video? Has this helped you out to understand what's going on in Canada with the United States in what is not a trade war, what is actually a punitive set of measurements to try to, or a punitive set of initiatives to try to get Canada to do the right thing? Anyway, leave that with you. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.